What's up, everybody? We are at Inspiration Point here in beautiful Bryce Canyon, Utah. So get ready to be inspired because I'm about to interview Eric, owner of RWB Maverick. And just take this all in for a second. Take some deep breaths. Get ready because we are interviewing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The experience.
So like maybe start by just telling me maybe what got you first exposed to it, and then from there maybe tell me about not just seeing it, but like what made you decide that this is something I want to like go crazy and go do.
Okay. I'll try to make it as coherent as possible.
All right. Yeah, just whatever. It's easy. This is, if you've seen my YouTube channel, it's not like, I don't have one of those YouTube channels that has $1 million production, mine's, it's just me doing it. So
yeah, I did an interview for like Rutledge's video, and it was like nerve wracking because they were just like, I was just there attending the build, and the guy walked up to me, he's like, "Hey, we're gonna interview you in 5 minutes," and I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna sit in your car. We're gonna do it." And I was like, "Oh, all right." Like, sounds good, I guess. Yeah. So I don't even know if they used any of it or whatever, but yeah, it was crazy.
That's cool. So when was, like, how long ago did you first see one? Like, did a friend have one? Did you see like some of the old like 0 to 60 stuff? Like, how did you find them?
The first one I ever saw was Pandora one. That was Mark's car. It was like 2011. I think it was like, I was a fan of Fat Lace and Super Street and all that stuff, that he was a part of that world over there. And I saw it in some type of publication, and I remember my first time seeing it, and just like, wow, those are insane. And never thought that I would be in a position where I would afford one. It was just kind of like one of those things that you see and you just acknowledge that, wow, that's amazingly awesome. And then you do a little bit of research into like what they are and who Nakai is and the background behind the brand. And it made it just extremely attractive to me. And then fast forward like 6 years, I guess, I found myself owning a motorsport shop here in North Carolina. And things kind of fell into place to where it made sense. And I initially reached out to RWB Atlanta and spoke with Alex, and Alex really guided me through everything and answered my bazillion questions that I had. And then once I really got a feel for the whole process, and then I think like you touched on like paying up front, I was kind of like, what? It was kind of made it kind of really big and kind of really real. So sat down and discussed it with the wife and with the family, and she gave me the thumbs up. And
crazy. Is she a car girl or what?
Just I just kind of drag her along with it. She doesn't mind it. She tolerates it, and she enjoys it and appreciates it for what it is. I mean, she sat down and had the conversation with Nakai. She enjoys going to builds and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, got the thumbs up, and then went through the process of understanding what all the options meant and what was compatible with what, based upon like what I wanted for the car. And after I went through that process, got the kit ordered, and then I waited about 11 months.
Man, that's not bad.
Well, at the time, like when you pay, you're like, oh man, okay, I got forever. But then when it's like, we got 90 days, you're like, oh my God. And it sneaks up on you really fast. But the whole thing was super surreal. Like, it was just like, he comes in and it's like all this anticipation, like well over a year, you're just like waiting and waiting and waiting, and then it happens in 3 days, it's over, and he leaves, and you're just kind of like what now? You got this like amazing car.
Do you feel like you maintain any kind of contact with them? Like, when did you first talk to him?
I first spoke
as far as your build, maybe, right? Yeah, like regarding your build.
Yeah, it was a lot of relay through Alex and through Joey from RWB LA. Like I said, they held
Yeah.
my hand with my kit through them. Okay, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, they're awesome, and nothing but a positive experience with those guys. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, just when did you first get like either
Oh, get to
a
speak with
phone call or
Nakai.
an email or a text or like what was that like?
He actually called me through Line Messenger. It was about maybe 2 months before they were like, "Oh, it's going to be around June," and I was like, "Okay." And then they were like, Can you work with that? Does somewhere around June work for you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then it was about a month before I just like looked down and my phone was ringing and it was Nakai, and I was just like, "Okay." And then he just spoke and confirmed that I had the kit and everything was ready, and he made sure that I was ready for him, and he gave me the dates, and that was it. And then I spoke with him when we picked him up at the airport, and throughout the build, he went out to eat with my wife and I. We spoke for a while, and it was super cool.
What is the hospitality part of it like when he comes? Just I've heard everything from you pay and put him up in a hotel to like he'll sleep at your house if you want him to. Like what did they give you like rules or anything around what that was like?
Wasn't really well. That's like there's a lot of vagueness around that, because I mean, like, you can, like, most of us, when we first hear about the brand, you sit there and you binge watch all the
Yeah.
videos on YouTube, and that covers like a lot of years of him building, and a lot of things change and are kind of flexible, and I asked Alex, like, I thought he was going to stay at the house based upon what I'd seen in other videos, but then Alex was like, no, he's more comfortable having his own time in his own place. And I was like, okay, that makes complete sense. So we just got him a local hotel. Alex was like, dude, you don't have to go, really over the top with him. He's just a normal guy. It's really just a place for him to shower and rest his head.
Yeah.
So, I got him a nice hotel, nothing crazy or over the top, just something local that was good. And we fed him during the build and after the build the whole time he was here. And you just learn from other family members, like, the courtesy and etiquette of how he is during builds and how to treat him during the build, and just kind of like let him work, and when to have him sign stuff and stuff. That's where other family members come in, like really helping you know how to cater to him and just make the build comfortable for him, like on a personal level.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that I didn't know and a lot that I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for other family members, like specifically like Ryan Hawking from Hawkins Designs.
Mm-hmm.
He helped me immensely with all the hospitality stuff, and just like, oh, you're gonna want to make sure Nakai has cappuccino in the morning, every morning, and stuff like that, and just like, because I had hired a translator, and I was really grateful that I did. This is a guy that I'd already known. He was a customer of the shop, and he lived in Japan for 8 years.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I'll do it for free if you feed me. I was like, okay, cool. So
Nice.
came in handy a couple times when it came to like some technical stuff and tools that he needed to work on the car that he was missing. It came in really, really handy to have him there and just have real clarification on exactly what he needed right there.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
What kinds of tools? So I've heard, and this is a rumor, right, is that from a lot of people I've heard that his needs as far as working on the car, he brings basically everything he needs, but you need to have air, like a good power supply and air, right?
Yeah. So he's gonna need like an air tank or a little compressor or something, because most of his tools are pneumatic. He brings his little toolkit. You've seen it's silver. It's in all the videos. Everybody like focuses on it. It's really cool. But it was like little things. Like, I think while he was with us, like his 1/4-inch ratchet broke, so he needed a 1/4-inch ratchet, and then there was something that, like, some bolt or hardware or something that he forgot to send or something, and we had to send somebody out to like a local Lowe's really quick and get like some bolts or something. I can't remember exactly what it was for. But yeah, I mean, he sends and provides everything, and I think part of when he called me, we kind of went through a checklist really quick of what was in the box, and made sure I had everything and stuff. But I have heard like him just bringing stuff for cars sometimes, and showing up parts that you didn't know that you were going to get. And
really?
Things like that. Yeah, I know of. I hope he doesn't mind me speaking of it. Ted from RWB Tampa. His bill was like right before mine, and one of my mechanics at the shop happened to be from the area, so he got an invite. I got an invite to the build and just kind of extended it to one of my members of my team at Misfits, and he went down there and apparently he didn't want a wing on the deck lid, but Nakai brought one and
Oh,
put it on.
really? Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. He's kind of, I guess, decided. And they were like, "Oh, okay." I mean, the boss decides.
I've heard, I had heard from a few people, maybe it was from Sohail, that there's like a degree of like design with him where you like talk to him and say, here's kind of the goals for my build. But it sounds like maybe that's not so much the case, right?
There's a lot of like I know that like when in the early days, that things were like a lot different.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted one, it was kind of like you were buying one of his cars, so you didn't really. It was
You kind of
like
do what you want. And
But now he's like he'll cater to you kind of like what you want. He wants to know your expectations of the car. Like, what do you plan on tracking it? Do you plan on streeting it? You know, and then he'll give you suggestions about things that he offers that work best for that scenario. And he knows a lot about like, especially foreign countries with like road quality and things like that. Like he knows a lot about like ride height and what would be achievable. And so do a lot of the other guys in the family. Like I said, the family's a great resource for everything. There are guys that keep like everybody's wheel specs on file and all their kits on file. So if you have any like fitment questions, you can get pretty much anything.
that's been hard. That's been hard because it's like every car is a little bit different, you know? And so, like I'm, spoiler alert, kind of, because I don't know if I'm actually going to do these wheels now. I was going to do the TE37s on mine just because I've had them on every car I've ever built. I've always had TE37s, and and they make the TE37V, which is like perfect for the car, but they don't make it in a 5x130, and so you've got to do converters on it. So you've got to do adapter plates to put
Maybe
the
to JM RWB Medusa.
Yeah, and we talk a lot actually. Yeah, okay. and same thing. He has adapters on his 99 or had them on his 993, and I think that he's the only guy running that wheel or that has had.
Yeah, I think so. I can't think of another. That's a classic wheel for me. It's super.
So super cool. I'm in between those, and then I actually reached out to 1552, and they said that they would, even though they stopped making them, they claim that there's one set left of those Magnus Walker Outlaw wheels they made.
And yeah, when they'll give them to you, that'd be cool.
And they're like, well, yeah, they're like, we have one set left, so you're lucky that we have them. But what spec do you need them? So I'm kind of wondering if they're just making them, you know.
They might be.
But it's a 3-piece forged wheel, so it could be just different barrels that they're talking about changing the barrels. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. So that's a whole different world there.
Anyway, that's the other option. So I'm between those and the T37s. It just kind of depends on what comes together. So
I just based my build off Stella because that's like the ultimate car to me. So
are you on a battery right now? Is your car closed so I could see it or no?
I mean, yeah, it's close. My garage isn't the cleanest thing in the world right now.
I don't care. This isn't like 4K camera either, so it probably doesn't matter. You're in North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
I've only been there one time. Like I said, I think I sold a car to a guy in North Carolina. I always forget if he was in South Carolina or North Carolina. And that car looks awesome. Doesn't matter if it's dirty. Look at that. So tell me a little bit about it. What year is it? And
it's a 1990 C4. This is factory 3.6.
So it's all-wheel drive?
Yes.
Oh man, that's sweet.
But it's not like an all-time all-wheel drive. Like when it detects slippage in the front, it kicks in the rear. So it's like it's really mechanical feeling when it does kick in. You can kind of feel it through the car. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the attraction to the whole air-cooled thing for me too, because when you have an air-cooled motor, especially when it's right behind you and you don't have the engine noise insulated by like the water jackets that come in cooled, water-cooled motors, you get like so much raw mechanical noise from the motor.
Yeah, totally.
You don't really get from anything else, in my opinion, especially when it's like right behind you. And mine is ridiculously loud. It's on Fab Speed RSR headers, and then they dump directly into an X pipe and then out. So there's no muffler, there's no cat, there's no nothing. It wakes the dead when I start it up. It's obnoxiously loud.
Are you like shotguns on the side? What's your exhaust look like?
I got the tips from Fab Speed, so just two tips that are nice and clean coming out the end there. And like I said, it goes into like a custom X pipe. I don't even. There's no way I can get the.
That's okay. No, you're okay. You're okay. I really like the. I'm thinking about doing those on my rear fenders, those winglets.
Yeah, one thing that um, to keep in mind, and I didn't realize until after, I love it too, but I went ahead and got my factory wing painted. My
Uh
painters
huh.
kind of did it for free
Uh
because I was
huh.
like, oh, it'd be cool, to switch out the
Be able to
wing real
switch.
quick and kind of like change out the look of the car um, affordably.
Yeah,
um, but just having the fender wings with this wing and deck lid, it just perfectly complements it.
because
And
it
then when you
runs.
take this off, they look kind of silly.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Without to me they do. Without the big wing to kind of complement them, it's
Hmm.
just kind of like it doesn't look right to me.
Yeah.
I did like a photo shoot with Mike Kuhn. There's a few pictures on my Instagram, but I
Hmm.
only kept it on for like 2 weeks. I ended up taking it off. I don't know. Kind of feel like I was like cutting the balls off of it in a couple
Yeah.
ways.
I'm kind of deciding that on mine too because with the Targa, I feel like you can only do so much. So I'm trying to decide. I'm thinking about doing like an RS America wing, just like that little T tray off the back,
Yeah.
really close to what John Sibel's looks like.
Have you seen the wing stuff that Sohal's been working on?
Mm, mm-mm.
He
He
said
did he a
I went pretty
no.
basic on the interior. I mean, I guess compared to a lot of guys, it's just Recaro speed seats. Most of the interior is still there. Got some carbon fiber accents.
How many places did you have him sign your car? Because I saw you signed your banner.
Yeah, he signed my banner and he signed my dash, and that's it. This was kind of before like when people like started having him sign the front with like the paintbrush. It's kind of cool, like they
Oh,
sign the
up
front
on
on the
up on
hood.
the hood. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
he
I
signed the
don't
window
think.
banner kind of like impromptu, like
Hmm.
he kind of did it real quick as he got out of the car. And then I had him sign like a ton of stuff that we had, just like everybody does.
What about process wise? Like when you did it, were you thinking, okay, I'm just gonna spend all the time and money and have this thing done, so when he puts the fenders on, this car is done? Or did you say afterwards I'm gonna work on the motor some? Afterwards, maybe I'll do paint work. Afterwards, maybe I'll change out the interior. Or did you say I want like the piece de resistance to be like the build and then you're done?
It's I went like my interior as far as I'm concerned is pretty finished. I kept
Hmm.
it kind of raw. I didn't want to spend a fortune on some super nice seats because I knew I was gonna be spending some time in it, like
Yeah.
on the road. So I kept the radio, kept the air conditioning, kept heat, kept all the stuff that pretty much came with it. Um, and then just kind of gutted out the rear, did a half cage, and then sitting behind me is the air tank. I did all that before. It was pretty ready to go, but I didn't. As far as the motor goes, I didn't like. I wouldn't say that's a finished product. This is a
Yeah.
factory 3.6 that I have with headers and an intake. So it's nothing crazy. I mean, it's a light car, so it's still fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love in the future to do like a nice 3.8 build or something like that. But I'm going to take care of and run the 3.6 until I need another something else. Because I mean, I'm sure just reselling the motors are just absolutely astronomical in price.
Well, I know that you're building kind of like how I am. That's why I'm curious about some of that stuff.
I just went for because I wanted to drive it. I wanted to be functional. That was one of my main decisions with air ride, is because I'd never wanted to be a situation where like I'm pulling in or out somewhere like, oh crap, I can't make this.
Hmm.
And so far I haven't. There's never been a situation where I've like haven't been able to just hit a button real quick, rocket like a monster truck over like railroad tracks or speed bumps or anything like that.
And those do
And
ride height and stiffness when in the airbag. You can adjust both.
yeah, well, there's lots of different options. You talk to Airlift because there's different ways they can control the ride height. They can do it through the air pressure, or they can do it through like ride height sensors that you actually install.
Okay.
And of course, the best is to do it both ways. So you can have the redundant system, um, which is like what most of the track cars do and stuff that run airlift. Mine's just done by pressure. I've never had any problems. My car's never been on track though. It's just done like some pretty hard street driving with it. And I've been happy. I haven't had any issues with it. Um, I let's see. The worst thing that's happened in the car so far is I hit a dead dog on the interstate.
Did it break the bumper?
I thought it felt like I hit a cinder block. It was just I was on my way back from Allen's build in Atlanta, and I had Ryan with me, and I was a little bit too much. I was just like trying to stance out, drive around. I was a little too low
Yeah.
and a little too close to the truck in front of me than I should have been. I didn't give enough time to get out of the way of anything, and I saw it shoot under the truck in front of me, and it was just kind of like I think I had time to cuss really fast, and then we kind of braced the impact, and I thought that I put a hole. It felt like I put a hole in the front of the bumper. I just got off of the next exit, and I'm like in tears, like about to get out, like and see like my bumper missing.
Yeah.
But it just cracked the hell out of it. But didn't no.
So you're able to just take it to a body guy and have him.
Yeah, I actually called the guy. I actually called the guy on the side of the road and was like, "What do I do?" Like, sent him a bunch of pictures, and he was like, "It's fine. Just have it repaired locally by a fiberglass guy." And I was like, "Okay." So I took it to the guy who painted it because he understood that, like, hey man, you can't just take the bumper off.
Yeah.
So he understood the situation. I was like, okay, I have to repair it when it's on the car. So and they did a great job and resprayed it and everything. But
what color was your car?
My car version was black on
black. Yeah. That's what's really hard for me on mine is mine's red and like it looks okay. Like it looks like a really nice color. Like you've seen Bong's car. Yeah. And when I see Bong's car, I'm like, okay, guard's red with like the black 911 headlights and black wheels and stuff. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's nice.
But I really want like a blue color or like a green color because I don't know. I've got a lot of reasons. I used to have a mint green BMW E92 and I got it. Mine was one I got from BMW. It was the only one they painted on the whole planet. And it was the color was called Porsche mint green was the color on my BMW. And so it was the only one BMW made. It was like just a really cool part of my life because I had this like really rare car and I had done it that way because when I sold it, I was able to get all my money back out of it. So it was really cool having this thing. Yeah.
Well, and, mine's a BMW color code.
Oh, yeah. What color is yours?
Sea-Pang bronze metallic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's an awesome color.
Yeah. That's like, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do the opposite of Stella because Stella is matte black.
He did the gold or the bronze.
On matte black.
I like that.
And with the same wheels and everything from Stella, and Nakai really liked the idea. And I went, man, I had my painter probably spray 30 different bronzes for me because at first I really wanted to try to stay true to like a Porsche color. Like we were going way back to like the 60s and finding bronzes that Porsche had done
912s and stuff.
Yeah, just like anything. And everything was either like too red or too brown or just not. It's just, and I always had that one that I had seen at some car show on an M5 like a long time ago. And I saw the color and I was like, wow, that's an amazing bronze color. So I always had it in the back of my mind. And I remember like the last flurry of paint samples I had him do for me. I told him, here's the Sea-Pang. I want the Sea-Pang in there, but throw it in there, but don't tell me which one it is. Yeah. And he was like, all right, cool. So I mean, he told me they were done. I went over to his shop and he like threw them all on the table and it was like super quick. Like I was instantly drawn to it. Boom, right there. And he was like, man, we wasted so much time. We could have just sprayed that from the beginning. But I don't know. I had to be sure. And then a couple people, like a couple guys at the shop were kind of skeptical of the paint choice. But I love it. Everyone loves it that sees it. I've gotten tons and tons of compliments about it. I'm really, really happy with it. I love it.
It's awesome. Let me ask you just one question, and then we'll have hit our 30 minutes. And I don't want to like run you through. I know your families are waiting on you.
If you want to do like another one or schedule another one in the future, if you have any more questions, I think I talked to Sohail and he was saying that you guys are doing like he's going to go over some name stuff because I actually just shared with him the story about my Japanese name, and he didn't know it. And he was like, you mind if I tell him about that? And I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, he can tell me. I'd rather get it from you first.
Well, when it came to my name, I kind of had a name in mind. The dictionary definition of Maverick was kind of like defined me as a person, kind of like all of us at the shop, and kind of like the way I live my life. So it kind of fit perfectly. Mm-hmm. Plus the thing that I was doing, kind of like the reverse of Stella, it's kind of like a Maverick rebel thing to do. So during the build, I asked Nakai like if he had any names, and he was like, "What are you thinking about?" So I told him, I like the name Maverick. Here's what it means, and he thought about it for a minute. He was like, "Yeah, Maverick's a good name." So I was like, "All right, cool. Done and dusted as far as I'm concerned." And then like 4 months later, Alan, who's RWB Atlanta #3 down in Atlanta, had his build. I helped him with some stuff getting ready with Nakai, so he invited me down there. I went down there, and it was like day 2 of his build. He took a smoke break and he was outside, and I had driven the car down. It was like 400 miles. I just made the trek.
Yeah.
And he was looking at the car, looking the car over, and afterwards he came inside, and Christian was there, and he talked to Christian for a minute, and then Christian came over to me, and he was like, Nakai said, you've earned a Japanese name. I was like, what? And he was like, well, you've come to another family member, and you've helped support in this build, and blah, 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 blah. So, you're part of the family now, and he's going to give you your car's Japanese name. And I was like, I was not even 100% sure that was a thing until that moment.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And I just like walked over to the guy, and I was like, what's up, man? And he said Hungaksha, and he's like, means rebel. And he was like, you're RWB Hungaksha. And I was like,
That's cool. Right. That's awesome.
Cool. I recorded a little video of him saying it for me, so I get I'm probably butchering it because I don't have the right dialect, but it's on my Instagram and everything. So
I don't think that you're not too far off. That sounds about right.
Close enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can Englishize the pronunciation a little bit. I can get away with it.
Yeah. That's really a cool story.
But yeah, and then I was just like, okay.
so and then we'll end on this, I guess. So does he typically give you an English name always, and then the Japanese name comes after, or do the cars ever get a Japanese name just to start with?
A lot of the cars get Japanese names to start with. I think it's kind of like a lot of the guys as owners. It really just depends on you. A lot of guys have something, their theme, what it wants to be to them already in their head. Yeah. And the guy doesn't really want to step on that. He kind of wants to build on that. But there are some guys that are just like, Nakai, I want you to name it. It's whatever you come up with, whatever you feel, it's all up to you. And you kind of make that decision just through talking to him. You can kind of guide him in a direction of what it means to you, kind of like what I did. I had something in my mind already. I just kind of explained to him why I wanted to name it that, and he was just gave me the thumbs up, and he was cool with it. And then he kind of built upon that with his Japanese name, which I thought was super cool because they're kind of synonymous. So it's up to you entirely. I mean, I think it's cool both ways. And there are a lot of cars that are done both ways. Some guys I know have picked out their Japanese name beforehand. It's just up to you. It's kind of a Nakai thing. I mean, I've
heard of people who let them pick the color of their car and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I could let somebody pick the color of my car, but the name's fine. If you want to name it whatever you want,
Yeah, and then it's just it's up to you. Put it on the side skirts. Lots of guys do. I do. I have Maverick on my side skirts, but it's just kind of up to you. And anytime I make any type of change to the car, I don't know if every owner does this, but I always send them a message and just hey, this is what I'm cool. When I put my new exhaust, I share it with them. Whenever I change the wing, I share it with them. And whenever I do a motor build, I'm going to share it with them. And just kind of, he cares. He wants to stay up to date. He's not bullshitting when he says in the videos that he builds the cars as he would build them for himself, and he cares about every single one that he built. So I always make sure I keep him up to date on things. And from a customer service standpoint, I was blown away, and it was 6 months after the build. I have a buddy who owned a tattoo studio in Charlotte, and he was like, hey man, we can put the car in the middle of my tattoo studio for a week if you're cool with that, and just kind of have a little event and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. But to get there, I had to get on a rollback to get up on the loading dock to get in. And I couldn't remember for the life of me if the tow hook that he put on the front was functional. So, and the guy needed it. So I was like, oh shit, let me call in the guy real quick. I knew through the group chat that he was in Germany, and the time difference was oh,
9 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. I was who knows? He's working, he's building cars, I don't expect. And I messaged him really quick, and I was sent a picture of it, and it was just hey, just wanted to make sure that this tow hook was functional and will work to pull it onto a rollback. I sent him that, and 3 minutes later, he called me, and he's like, is the car okay? Are you okay? He was he thought I had got into a wreck or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, we're fine. I'm just putting the car on display. But I was blown away that he was stopped whatever he was doing and instantly called me, concerned about my well-being, concerned about the well-being of the car, and just wanted to make sure everything was okay.
That's cool.
It kind of blew me away in the moment. He was like, "Yeah, it works. It should be fine." Took it right up. And he was like, "Test it first, make sure it's tight, but it should be fine." I was like, "All right, cool." And it was fine. Everything was cool. But that blew me away because I was like, I wouldn't feel bad if it took him like 4 or 5 hours to get back to me, or like the next day, just knowing how the man works and how much he flies around and everything he's got going on. But it was cool that he was concerned and he shot back answer just like that. It really blew me away.
That's
and
awesome.
It's been like that every time I've reached out to him, whether it be important or not. He always makes an effort to respond to you, and he's a cool guy.
Cool. Well, again, Eric, I appreciate you taking time to do this. I know it's not. Nobody likes to be interviewed, to be honest, right? Like you don't get a lot of people that are
it's weird. I take it seriously just because like Nakai and them is like the only thing I've really cared about being a part of, really. And I always take, representing him very seriously because, for a lot of people, especially when you go to car shows and stuff and you meet especially a lot of young people, you may be the only interaction that they have that's closest to Nakai. And like for me, it's like I represent him every time I interact with people, especially when it revolves around the car. And I just want to make him proud and represent him well and try and treat people like I know he treats people and be nice.
Was your build public or did you do it private?
Mine was private, but I opened it up to like my customers, and like we didn't have too many people. I think at most we probably had 30 people there at one time. It didn't really get too crazy. We policed it pretty well. But it had more of like a homey feel. It wasn't like a super private build. Like some builds are super private. But we invited a bunch of people, but it wasn't public, like everybody can come type deal.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm sure I'll have questions. I'll probably shoot them over to you online or whatever. And then I'll link in this video. I'll do a link because you've got a build video, I think, right? I feel like I've seen it.
Yeah, I got one on YouTube. If you just type in RWB Maverick, it should come right up.
Okay. I'll just link it to this video. So anybody watching this, just click the link. It'll be here or there.